Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide, a reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that General George Washington surprisingly met 1,400 Hessian soldiers that outnumbered his troops 5-1? Join up with the Continental Army for a retreat into the night with Washington and his army, who left campfires burning, muffled their army's wagon wheels, and quietly made their way around the British camp into one of the greatest retreats and victories of the Patriot cause.
Today, we're focusing on one specific moment. It's short, it's intense, and it's just profoundly important to the American Revolution.
We're talking about the Battle of Princeton, January 3rd, 1777. General George Washington pulls off this just incredible strategic move.
Yeah, and this isn't just a recap of a battle. Think of this as an operational analysis. Our mission here is to really dissect how Washington, who was facing, what many call the biggest threat of the war, how he managed to escape a trap and turn it into a victory. It's just a masterclass in deception.
We have to start with the stakes, because if you don't get the danger he was in, the whole thing doesn't really land.
Absolutely. By January 2nd, the situation was catastrophic for the Continental Army.
Right. They just had this great success at Trenton, and then boom, the hammer drops. Lord Cornwallis, the British commander, shows up with an overwhelming force.
And overwhelming is the right word. Cornwallis marches into Trenton with about 8,000 veteran soldiers?
Yeah, these aren't fresh recruits. These are guys who know what they're doing.
Exactly. And they vastly outmatch the Americans in, everything. Training, equipment.
And what's Washington got? He's holding the line with about 5,000 men.
So he's outnumbered. And worse, he's pinned. He's got his back to the Assunpink Creek, Delaware River behind that.
It's a classic trap. Cornwallis designed it to be the final, the punishing blow of the campaign.
Cornwallis thought he had him. He figured nightfall on January 2nd was just a pause. He'd crush him in the morning.
So if Washington stays, he's annihilated. If he tries to run, he gets picked off during a chaotic retreat.
And Cornwallis, he's a smart commander. He anticipates the escape. He knows Washington isn't going to just sit there and fight 8,000 troops.
So he figures there's one obvious escape route.
Right. And this is the key psychological part. He's seen Washington's signature move before, the Midnight River crossing on Christmas.
So he thinks he'll do it again.
He thinks he'll just reverse the route. So Cornwallis sends troops to guard the Delaware River, expecting to catch the Americans in another messy, icy retreat.
But Washington knew better. He knew he couldn't be predictable. Engaging that force was suicide, and taking the obvious escape route was just a slower kind of suicide.
He had to do something audacious, something that would just completely neutralize Cornwallis's numbers.
It wasn't just about slipping away.
No, he had to change the entire narrative. Washington was supposed to be on the defensive, just trying to survive. Instead, he made the call to maintain the initiative.
And that's so important for you to understand. Maintaining the initiative means you're forcing the enemy to react to you.
Exactly. Cornwallis was planning his attack for the next morning. Washington was already planning his next move.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of this. It's this incredible two-part deception.
It all starts with making Cornwallis believe that the American army was just settled in for the night, waiting for the end.
And he does this with the campfires, the famous ruse.
Deceptively simple, right? He leaves a small group of guys behind, maybe a few hundred soldiers, and tells them to keep the campfires burning all night.
Make a lot of noise, feed the fires, make it look like 5,000 men are still there.
Exactly.
But hold on. Wouldn't a seasoned general like Cornwallis see that and think, this is too obvious, it's a trap?
That's a great question. And the answer is really just human psychology. Overconfidence.
He was tired, his troops were tired.
And his intelligence said Washington was trapped. The British just assumed the Americans were beaten, demoralized, waiting for their fate. They see the fires and think, good, they're still there. We'll deal with them in the morning.
And that little bit of theater bought Washington the most critical few hours of the war.
It bought him the time he needed. But the move itself, moving 5,000 men with artillery and wagons.
For 18 miles.
Through the dark, through the cold, without making a sound. That is an operational nightmare.
It really is. Which brings us to the second part of the deception, right? The silence.
The silence. They went to incredible lengths. They ordered the troops to muffle the wheels of the wagon.
With what? Cloth? Rags?
Yeah, probably. Anything to stop the sound from carrying across the frozen ground. Just think about coordinating that. Thousands of men, hundreds of wagons, through frozen mud, in total darkness and silence.
And they had to be quiet not just for patrols, but because Cornwallis's main force was just a couple miles away. Any loud noise would give the whole game away.
And this is where it goes from a risky stealth mission to a brilliant strategic move. It's the intelligence.
Right. You can be as quiet as you want, but if you march blindly into an enemy position, it's all for nothing.
This is where Militia Colonel John Cadwalader becomes a hero of the story.
He gives Washington a map.
Not just any map. It's a detailed map of the whole area. It shows the main roads, sure, but also all the back roads, the auxiliary routes.
And crucially,
It shows the exact locations of the British defensive works and their cannon positions around Princeton.
so Cornwallis thinks he owns the territory, but Washington actually knows it better than he does.
That map was the blueprint. It showed him how to bypass the main British army and hit them where they were weakest, the rear.
Perfect intelligence, perfect execution. And here's a detail from the sources that always gets me. It wasn't just infantry on this march.
No, it wasn't.
Washington brought 3 companies of Marines with him on that nighttime push.
Which just highlights the calculated risk here. Marines are a specialized force. You use them for high-risk, critical missions. Their presence tells you this wasn't some desperate scramble.
No, this was a planned, sophisticated flanking maneuver.
Absolutely. He was putting his entire army on the line, and he needed the best people he had to make sure that night march went off without a hitch.
So Washington and his 5,000 men sneak around the 8,000 waiting for them. They get to Princeton at dawn, and they completely surprise the British.
They run right into what the sources call a straggling British rear guard. But that term is a little misleading.
It sounds like just a few guys.
It was about 1,400 Hessian and British soldiers. They were actually on their way to Trenton to reinforce Cornwallis. They had no idea the main American army was anywhere near them.
The initial fight was desperate, though. Washington managed a quick pushback, but the British rallied pretty fast.
And the numbers in that specific skirmish got ugly fast. Washington's vanguard, the first group to engage, was suddenly outnumbered, maybe 5 to 1 in some spots.
The whole plan could have collapsed right there.
It could have. And this is the moment that, it really defines Washington's leadership. He doesn't just direct from the back, he rides straight into it.
The sources say he got as close as 30 yards from the British line.
30 yards. I mean, that's basically point-blank range for a musket. The danger was unbelievable.
He was completely exposed.
Completely. He was rallying his men with his sheer presence. We know that some British soldiers actually thought they'd killed him in all the smoke and chaos, but he stabilized the line. He gave them the morale boost they needed to push through.
It's just this incredibly dramatic moment, and then there's one of the weirdest details from the sources.
Yes. The British commander they were fighting, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Mawhood.
He apparently rode into battle with his Springer Spaniel dogs running alongside him.
It's an almost cinematic image, isn't it? It just speaks volumes about the overconfidence of some of these British officers.
Right. The fate of the revolution is hanging in the balance, and this guy treats it like a morning ride with his dogs.
It's such a bizarre contrast to Washington, 30 yards away, risking his life to hold his army together.
So once they push that rear guard back, the main goal is achieved. The final part of the battle actually happens on what is now the campus of Princeton University.
Exactly. And Washington shows his brilliance again by knowing when to stop. The point wasn't to hold Princeton.
No, it was a raid.
It was a raid. Strike, grab supplies, and get out before Cornwallis realizes what happened and comes charging back from Trenton with these 8,000 men. And that's what they did. They withdrew, having dealt this huge, embarrassing blow to the British.
So let's zoom out. The grand strategic outcome here is just monumental.
The tactical win was big captured prisoners, supplies, but the psychological impact, that's what changed the war.
You have to remember the context. Just weeks before, the revolution was basically over. The army was falling apart, enlistments were up.
But then Trenton, and now Princeton. 2 quick victories against a superior force. That image of retreat was just gone.
And morale, which had been in the basement, just surged.
And that psychological win had very real results. The sources are clear on this. The victory at Princeton is directly responsible for getting many recruits to join the Continental Army in the spring.
It wasn't just a feeling, it was a manpower surge. That's what allowed him to field an army later at places like Valley Forge.
Exactly.
So to wrap this up, we started this deep dive with Washington cornered, outnumbered 8,000 to 5,000. He completely flipped the script.
He used deception, the campfires. He used brilliant intelligence, that map from Cadwalader, creating total information asymmetry. He used that to guide an 18-mile stealth march.
and then won the skirmish through sheer personal leadership. He didn't win with numbers. He won by controlling the initiative.
This whole episode just shows you that Washington's genius wasn't just about endurance. It was about strategy, right when everything was about to collapse.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you.
How much did this entire pivot, the move that really, you could argue, saved the revolution and generated all that future momentum, how much did it all hinge not just on the courage of an army, but on one single piece of perfect intelligence?
A single accurate map.
Think about the incredible leverage that one map provided against a massive, overconfident global empire.
Thank you for joining us for this day in his story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in his story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the homeschool for faith and family.